Welcome to this quick overview of digital rights management, where we integrate Microsoft Purview sensitivity labels into Netskope. How do we do this? First and foremost, we join Netskope into Microsoft just using a valid account, and from there we can then extract an up-to-date list of the sensitivity labels which are being used. In the case of my demo here, we have public, personal information, and confidential. In the case of personal information, we'll find that those files are encrypted as well as tagged, where confidential is simply tagged. How do we use those within the system? We basically use file profiles, where I can create a new file profile, go to sensitivity label, select the instance of Microsoft that I want to integrate with, which is my V1 demo, and then I can select the tags that I want to use as part of the matching criteria. Very, very simple, and then add it to a data protection policy. So what does that look like from an end user's perspective? My example here, you can see this green OneDrive here is my corporate version of OneDrive. I've created 3 files up here, one called Cloud Confidential, Cloud Personal Information, and Cloud Public. Each one of those will have its own set of sensitivity tags applied to it. So confidential, if I scroll down here, you'll notice this one's set to confidential. If I look at Cloud PI, this one is set to personal information. And then finally, my public document has been set to sensitivity public. If I was to copy my public file down to my local PC, you'll notice that that works without any problems and the file will be downloaded. You can see down here, Cloud Public is now sitting in my downloaded directory. If I attempt to copy down confidential tagged files, you'll notice the bottom right-hand corner will show a message saying that it's picked up a confidential tag and it's actually blocked that from copying down. So there's no way for the end user to actually copy that file. Let me try personal information. Now this file is encrypted by Microsoft by default, so I may provide additional levels of access for the end user. In this case, I've picked up that it's got the personal information tag, and I can provide it with a reason why I want to download that file and accept the risk. Now, once I do that, it will allow that Cloud PI file to be downloaded, as you can see down here on my local PC. Now, I've also created some local files with a confidential tag as well as a personal information tag. Now, these files have not been seen by Netskope at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call up my USB drive. You can see down here, which is my D drive. I'm going to attempt to copy across my local confidential file and place it onto that USB stick. Now, as that file has been copied across, it will be checked by Netskope. You'll notice it's picked up that it has a confidential tag. Therefore, that is blocked because our policy does not allow a confidential document to be copied to a USB drive. Now, similarly, if I do it with my Cloud Personal Information file, in this case, again, because I know that file is encrypted, I will allow some lenience for the user to copy that onto a USB drive. And here I can just accept the risk. No reason this time, just accept the risk and allow that file to be copied across. Now you may see that it's actually got the local confidential file there. So Jason, you told me it wouldn't copy. If I attempt to open that file, you will notice that the file does not exist. Okay, so the reason that it's kind of showing is I probably just need to refresh this and you'll notice that file doesn't exist. Now I can copy across the Cloud Public one as well. And in this case, because it's public, that file is allowed to move across onto the D drive straight away. Okay, let's look at some other ways that this information could be exfiltrated out of the business. I have a Dropbox connection up above here. What if I was to attempt to copy that local confidential file up to Dropbox, which is an unsanctioned app by the business? So as that's copied up, you'll notice down here that it's picking up anything that has a confidential or a personal information tag, and it has blocked that from copying to that unsanctioned cloud application. So that file just will not be copied. It will not work. if I try to copy my cloud public file up, in this case, because it's got a public tag on it, that one should be allowed to be copied by default. Now in the background, I could be running some data protection checks on these just to make sure that somebody hasn't put personal data into that file and tagged it as public. In this case, it looks like it's okay. Now, what if I want to get this local confidential file out of the business? There may be some other ways to do it. Maybe I could attempt to do it using Slack. So again, if I copy that local confidential file up using Slack and send it up to my personal account, again, it's stopping me from doing that. Okay, very, very simple to write policies which look at the application, the activity, and the instance of the application to see if that application should be blocked. Now let me introduce a couple of other cloud services, such as another version of OneDrive. This is my personal version of Netskope OneDrive. Okay, so it's still a fully fledged version. And then down the bottom right hand corner, I'm going to put up just a free Outlook version of OneDrive. Now what happens if I attempt to copy this local confidential file? I'm going to copy it to 3 places. I'm going to copy it up to my corporate version, which should work out of the box because I'm allowed to move between or copy files up to my corporate OneDrive, my sanctioned instance. What if I attempt to copy it over to my Netskope OneDrive, which is a different version? And again, it's picking up that I should not be copying anything that has a sensitivity tag of confidential or personal information up to a different version of OneDrive. Instance awareness is very important in this case. Now also, if I attempt to copy this down, no, I won't do that one. I'm going to attempt to connect it to an email. So let me attempt to send an email to myself here. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to copy this confidential file and I place it in that email. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the email. I've got a couple of options here. So let's try and attach it first. So now we're trying to upload that into the email. Again, it's blocked by the same rule, which says I can't copy anything with one of those sensitivity tags set. Try and get a little bit tricky. What if I copy it up and share it via OneDrive? So in this time, I'm sending it up to my personal version of OneDrive, and again, it is blocked. It's not allowing me to do that. So as a user who's trying to exfiltrate this document out of the business, I'm finding a lot of challenges to actually exfiltrate this file out of the business. But I'm not done yet. So what if I go across to my Outlook version within my corporate instance of Microsoft 365, and I'll attempt to send this file again to Homer's personal email address. Let's just put in here a subject of test, drag and drop. I'll try the attach again and see what happens. Again, it's not a file that should be attached to an email, therefore it's blocked. So that one's not going to work. What if I attempt to do it via a share on OneDrive? So as it's being uploaded, it is actually allowed because I'm allowed to copy files up to OneDrive as part of the sanctioned version of Microsoft 365. It looks like it's attached. This may work. And I'll attempt to send it. Oh, it's asking me for a sensitivity label. Now, I'm not too sure what I'll do here, but let's just mark it as public and send it off, and we'll see if that one gets through. Now, think about what's happening here from an email perspective. The email is sent with a OneDrive link inside it. So inside the email, there's no data loss per se. Now, this will go via our SMTP proxy. And our SMTP proxy within Netskope will check that file to see if there's any sensitive data within it. What it's going to find is a link to a file which is hosted and shared via our corporate OneDrive. That email will go through. It's not going to stop that. Now, as that email goes through, a couple of things are going to happen. Because we shared the file via OneDrive, that is going to trigger an event in the back end for Microsoft to tell Netskope via CASB API that somebody has shared a file. And that file was shared to an external source. There we go. So Marge has sent that test email across to Homer. When Homer attempts to open that up, we will see that there's a local confidential file. Now, when he clicks on that link, because Casby API has removed that link in near real time, Homer will not be able to see that file. Now, in the back end, what's going to happen is Marge will receive an email telling her that she should not be sharing confidential information via this means and that that file share has been revoked.